Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Show Me the Crypto. This week we chat with the Deadfellaz co-founder, Betty, and we actually chat to Betty's avatar in a really unique, first of its kind experience. Ulf, what did you think of this interview?
Well, I was taken aback when Betty put her camera on because it wasn't a human, but it was her Deadfellaz avatar. But I love that. And that's something we touched on in the show, understanding that technology and how that works if you're a Deadfellaz PFP holder. But beyond that, we just talked a lot about her journey through NFTs, being an NFT creator, dealing with a growing community that is as large as Deadfellaz community is. And especially we dove into creator royalties and lots of the controversy going on around that subject.
Yeah, there was a lot of exciting topics that we touched on. This was a guest. We'd been hoping to get Betty on for quite a while, so we were so stoked to do this interview. And to our understanding, it's the first interview she's done with this avatar. So we were pretty stoked about that. If you're on YouTube, enjoy the visual. If you're listening to this episode, head over to our YouTube channel so you can at least get a taste of what that visual looked like. Otherwise, we hope you enjoy this episode.
Show me the crypto. Show me the crypto. Show me the crypto.
In a world on the brink of disruption, two men will bring you clarity by interviewing some of the most intelligent and influential names in the blockchain world. Welcome to Show Me the Crypto with your hosts, Wade Patterson and Ulf Lonergan.
Well, hi there, and welcome to Show Me the Crypto. My name is Wade Patterson.
And I'm Ulf Lonergan.
We're a couple of friends from Canada who love learning about cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, and we're happy you're along for the ride. Whether you're a crypto virgin or you know your way around the block, we hope our interviews with some of the most intelligent and influential people in the blockchain space help deliver you with value. And on this episode, we're joined by Betty, co-founder of Deadfellaz. Born in the northern England county of Yorkshire, Betty's parents encouraged and nurtured her creativity from a young age. That creativity carried forward into Betty's career as she worked in community engagement, marketing, and creative production professionally for more than a decade. With diversity and inclusion in mind, Deadfellaz launched on Friday the 13th in August 2021 and sold out the entire collection of 10,000 generative NFTs within 20 minutes. Betty, welcome to Show Me the Crypto.
Thank you. You really did your research. People don't always talk about my background and where I'm from, but that's nice.
Yeah, we like to kick off the interview with the right start. We try to do our research on the bios. And speaking of research, my understanding is that your dad was a thrash metal musician. And so I want to start outside the NFT space because we're going to talk about Deadfellaz, we're going to talk about NFTs, but I want to know, did that impact your musical preferences growing up?
Yes. I don't think many other 7-year-olds were listening to Pantera or Black Sabbath or any of that. So yes, definitely.
Love it.
What, so you said it had an impact. What impact would you say it had? Was it just musical, or was there any other influences that came from that in your life?
I was taught from a very young age to be myself and to challenge systems. So I mean, both of my parents gave me that. But I think that's kind of a big theme through metal music and punk music and all of that. So yeah, I think it's influenced me in a multitude of ways.
And is thrash metal one of your favorite types of music, or was that just something you were forced to listen to as a kid and you don't even like it?
No, I love all kinds of rock and metal. I still listen to a variety of different genres. I mean, my dad, even though he was a thrash metal musician and still is, he also loves Lady Gaga. So I've been
nice.
taught to embrace lots of different versions of music and art.
Nice. Well, I'd love to jump to the art side right now, because as everyone can see, we're not talking to a true human you. We're talking to the avatar of you. And I just would like to jump into even just that because it's interesting. Like what's the technology you're using for this? Is this something that other people can set up? Give me the background on the Deadfellaz avatar right now.
Yeah, this is we created these with a company called Hologram, and they're 2D facial reactive avatars. So basically, anyone that has a Deadfella in the original 10K collection can access this through Hologram. You just connect your wallet and you get your avatar. You can use it to create content, stream on Twitch, create GIFs, emotes, all kinds of things. Yeah. I just thought it would be fun to use today. So hello.
Love it.
It is. It's impressive. Like, I mean, I'm not super familiar, so maybe I'm just like, hey, this is new to me. But even just like the way it moves around, like it gives a 3D effect to what is otherwise 2D art. So yeah, no, it's super cool. Thanks for joining with it. And
I think it's especially cool because people are using these things as their identities online, right? And it's providing a way to be present while maintaining anonymity, which is, I think, a really cool concept. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point you raise. I mean, it's super interesting to take what is just the classical PFP that you have in your, Twitter profile, and now you can actually, be interactive beyond the written word online and like come in and talk. And even if you want to maintain anonymity and you're worried about voice or something, you could just use a voice changer, but you can still use your PFP and not just be behind a still frame or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, let's switch gears to NFTs. I mean, I guess that's a bit of what we're talking about, but let's stick with your history, but go back to NFTs now. And, at what point did you discover NFTs, and was it a difficult concept to get your head around? Was there an aha moment, or, were you like on board right away? It just clicked and NFTs made a lot of sense to you?
For me, I was introduced by my husband, Syke, who is the co-founder and artist at Deadfellaz. It was January 2021, and we had been working really hard through COVID, and we ran a creative production agency prior to Deadfellaz, and a lot of our work and a lot of the contracts had been cancelled, along with all of the stuff that was cancelled with COVID. So it was a rough time for creatives in general. I had been also quite disenfranchised at that point. I was working a lot in the community. I was working with women and gender diverse people, First Nations communities, on business mentoring and workshop facilitation and all kinds of stuff like that. I had hit a wall, so to speak, where I felt like the work I was doing was within broken systems, and I just didn't see the effectiveness of it anymore. I felt frustrated. So it was an art collective called Depthcore that Syke has been a part of for many years, run by Justin Maller, who is a wonderful artist. Some artists within that collective had introduced Syke to NFTs and the concept of it. Like, we're kind of minting these things. This is what it's all about. The idea of royalties baked into smart contracts and verifiable on-chain ownership and provenance of art was just wild to me. And I could see the possibility of it challenging many industries. So for me, it was a light bulb moment. I was just all of a sudden completely obsessed with something I'd only heard about 5 minutes ago. And since then, I have remained as obsessed and haven't stopped thinking about it for 2 years now.
Okay.
Was Syke familiar with the greater crypto space prior to that? Like, was he involved in crypto going back to earlier years?
Yeah, we both were. Back in 2017, we bought crypto, and we were kind of doing the dabbly day tradey situation, but it wasn't, neither of us were super deep in it. We were both familiar with it and liked the concept, of course. But yeah, it wasn't until we saw how it was applying to our industry and what we love that we jumped fully in.
Well, speaking of jumping fully in, I mean, that's one of the things, Betty, that was really clear in doing research for this is that you have a lot of conviction. And so, I mean, you've spoken about the fact you didn't feel represented by other NFT projects in 2021. So that kind of gave you the initial inspiration. But my understanding was that financially, you were in a tough spot at the time. I know you did an interview with NFT Now talking about the fact that you borrowed $500 to register the website for Deadfellaz. So what gave you the conviction at that point in time? Because it's tough when you're in a difficult financial spot to, you can have a belief that something's going to work, but taking that big jump, especially when it's borrowing money and that type of thing, what gave you that conviction?
Yeah, I mean, COVID really screwed us in Australia. Anyone that is in Australia and went through that period of time would know what it was like. There was a housing crisis. So we were moved from house to house, like I think 4 times in 1 year at one point. It was really insane. And every time it costs you thousands of dollars to move in Australia. It's a very expensive business. And so it was just wild. And yeah, having lost so much of our so many of our contracts through all of the fun stuff that we had lined up through, real life events and everything. The Olympics getting cancelled was a big one. That sucked. It was just tough. And I think that when you know the value of what you're doing and you know your own worth and you know your own potential and your own skill set, it's easy to jump into things because it feels obvious. Right. And sure, like the landscape that I saw, I felt I understood deeply. Psych and I together both had the skills to be able to launch this and to be able to push this into what it needed to be. I know that. And I knew that then. And it's why we didn't do anything before that. He was doing, a few NFTs here and there. He was helping a few of the original punks with some events that they were doing in the metaverse and the OG punk stuff in crypto voxels and stuff, which was really cool. But aside from that, he didn't do anything big. And then it was just the concept of community and this cultural movement that we saw building around profile picture brands and whatnot. And yeah, like you said, I just didn't see anything that I wanted to use. Nothing that represented the type of culture that I wanted to hit. So we just did it ourselves. And I think you do have to have a certain amount of risk tolerance. Personally, I am quite a person. I just kind of launch myself into things if I feel like it's right. I trust my intuition a lot and kind of move like that. So for me, it was an obvious thing. Worked out great. So here we are.
On that side of not feeling like, there was a NFT collection that maybe represented you and what you wanted out of an NFT collection and community, my understanding is that gender neutrality was baked in. It was intentional and important for Deadfellaz from the beginning. So why is that? And why was that something that better represented what you were looking for?
It's a really interesting conversation to have, I think, particularly now. It's such a divisive topic. But gender is a spectrum. It's a concept, and it's something that is nuanced depending on where you live in society, where how old you are, where you lie geographically, where you lie in religion. There's all kinds of different things that impact your views on that. But the reality is most people lie somewhere on a spectrum of gender, and I did not see that represented in any of the PFP brands. And so I wanted to bring that fluidity of choice, because I think that, while we talk about this space, the concepts of self-sovereignty, especially when it applies to digital identity, it makes complete sense that you should have total control over how you're received and how you present yourself. So to me, those concepts go hand in hand with crypto and with blockchain in general and the ethos that underlies it. It meant a lot. And also to validate the participation of people that don't lie within the gender binary. I think that's very important, because moving forward, that is the real world, right? Where people have always existed. Just now we're kind of finding language, and it's evolving for us to be able to include people. And I think that, it was important for me to do that with this. So, yeah.
It was clear that you saw that the need for that. I'm curious what kinds of stories emerged in the early days. Like as you brought this project forward, clearly there were going to be others who really resonated with what you were doing. But like, did you just hear overwhelming feedback after you launched? Like people very appreciative that now you have brought this forward of what didn't really exist previously in the NFT space?
Yeah, exactly. We're the community that's well known for being friendly and open and safe for LGBTQ plus people, for BIPOC, for women. It's a community that embraces all of the coolness that you find in Web3, but without the toxicity, which is far and few between. You can't really find much of that, in my opinion. So it is important because we do provide a way for many people that don't have a space elsewhere to participate in this. I think it's so important, especially in a burgeoning industry, because so often unrepresented voices are left out of the conversation, but have so much to contribute, that would make this blossom even more. And so where we sit in the intersection of finance and tech and art, I look at the demographic that is, most served in those industries, and it doesn't look like me, that's for sure. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of forcing my way into that and pulling other people up, opening doors and, cementing them open.
And what are your thoughts on toxicity in the space? I mean, that in itself, I think, would have strong opinions on some people who maybe I would consider toxic in the space would consider me toxic in this space. So what are your thoughts on how that's perceived, and both by maybe onlookers from outside and those who are, actively involved in the crypto space in some form or fashion?
I think it's nuanced as well. To many people, we're all toxic in this industry because they just don't care for crypto and they don't want anything to do with NFTs or Web3. It's like a banned word. It's not something that's fully embraced yet. What's toxic to me isn't toxic to you or to other people. I think that it's okay to accept that. But the underlying thing that I really want to make sure is maintained is respect for everyone, and the ability for all people to navigate this space with safety and with dignity and with equal opportunity. I don't think that that's a particularly progressive idea, but I find that many simple ideas when it comes to inclusivity are actually kind of quite, they make a lot of waves in this space when you talk about it, which is a little disheartening, honestly. But at the same time, if you're not making someone mad, you're not really doing a good job, in my opinion, right? You're just within your own ecosystem. So I think that, I don't know, toxicity, it all sucks. Some of it sucks, some of it's great. It's hard to navigate sometimes, but we do it anyway.
Yeah, and last, I guess, just to sum up, this topic, do you think we're heading the right direction? Do you think, toxicity is being minimalized over time, or do you think we've got work to do?
I think we have a lot of work to do. I think it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The bear market obviously amplifies a lot of negative feelings, and I think people always look for someone to blame. I think that issues are amplified when the woman is to blame, or if a woman makes a misstep in this space, it's twice as bad as if a man does it. There's a lot of double standards, and I do think that we have a lot of work to do in terms of providing opportunity for everyone. But we'll get there. There's so many great people in this space working, and I think what's so cool is many people are so open to educating themselves and learning from each other. Being wrong, I'm under no impression that I'm right all the time. I'm definitely wrong about so much stuff, and my opinion isn't fact. It's my opinion. So it's a good to have many different voices.
One of the things I love to ask people who are the founders of NFT projects is just about the pressure, especially in the early days, because going back to 2021, it felt like no matter what the project was, there was just so much attention paid to like what the floor price is and what are the founders doing, what is the team doing to like increase the floor price. And I think now we've gotten to a point, in the bear market where it's true collectors, it's true holders, it's true members of the community who are a part of these things, and that's less of the conversation. Did you ever feel that pressure? Were those things ever factors you and Psych had to deal with coming from the group who owned Deadfellaz?
Yeah, I think every founder has dealt with that. It's crazy. It's Deadfellaz doesn't seem to deal with it as much as other communities, though. We have a really strong holder base where, there's a very, very high percentage of people that only own one, and we're able to see the data on who moves on and who stays, and we have a really high retention rate. So I think a lot of people join Deadfellaz purely for the reason that they want to be involved, which is great. We weren't designed to trade and flip. I'm obviously aware that is what some people do, and that's fine. It's an important part of the ecosystem. But it's great to have that community there that's always there. The pressure is huge, though, for founders, and every founder listening to this will agree. It is very, very intense at times, but also very rewarding. And nothing worth anything comes from an easy time. I think hardship and pressure and all of that stuff, while it's hard at the time, you look back and think, wow, I did that and it was all worth it. And I get those moments just constantly. So it's a very rewarding place to be.
I've heard the definition of Deadfellaz is an evolving metaverse brand. So with that definition in mind, what does the evolution look like from launch until now, and kind of where are things going? I know that's a big question to throw at you, but I'm just curious, kind of like, what does the timeline look like since Deadfellaz has existed?
That is a really big question. We launched as a PFP project, right? Like, that's how we were received. Nobody really knew at that point what was going on with any of this. And I think what's been cool is seeing the brands evolve into their own lanes. You see Artifact, they're clearly a clothing and sneaker company. It's amazing. You see Bored Apes, and they're heavily into gaming, which again is really cool. I see us as more of a cultural brand that leans into digital identity and the empowerment of creators. I see us as a force that can disrupt the creative industry. And so I look forward to being able to do that through the lens of IP that is easily fallen in love with, and perpetuated by some really amazing human beings on the internet.
And going back again to this timeline and the evolution that has happened to date, how much of that, if any, was sort of pre-planned beyond the PFP part, or has it been sort of like, one foot in front of the other, figuring it out as you go, and, perhaps with the community's involvement and taking in ideas in that respect as well?
We co-create this whole thing with the community, and we're able to move quite nimbly with what they want and what they need. It's really fun because sometimes I have a direction that I want to go in, and then I see someone. We have weekly AMAs in the Discord, and I also have a call with someone one-on-one every single week from my community. So I get to hear a lot of really cool ideas, and sometimes their input pivots us into a new direction or into something way cooler, which is fun. And also there's so many talented people in our community. So many of the people we engage to do these things directly from the Horde. It's actually so funny because as well, when we collaborate with brands, we'll get on a call as part of the first call, and they'll be like, oh, James in accounts has a Deadfellaz. He loves you guys. So it's so funny. Yeah.
As someone who doesn't have a Deadfellaz, I've been aware of the project for a long time. I love the artwork, but what I've learned in being in the space is that NFT projects, there's so many, and it's too hard for most people, you know, with a full-time job and their afterlife and stuff to keep tabs on everything. You know, you kind of keep tabs on the projects that you are actively invested in and are the communities that you're a part of. So as someone who's not an active member of the Deadfellaz community, you know, can you break down some of maybe the highlights in your journey so far from when you started and maybe what members have been able to get out of it from that point of view of like, not only do I not know, but there might be a lot of the audience listening here who aren't familiar with Deadfellaz. So what can they come to sort of take away in learning about what Deadfellaz is and maybe why they might want to, you know, grab an NFT and join the community?
Well, I mean, when you wear a PFP, I always think it's to signal something, right? Like it's social signaling, the same way you would choose to wear a certain T-shirt or listen to certain music or, you know, whatever. It's just an extension of who you are. And I think when a brand is mission driven, that can be a really powerful tool of communication with other people. So when you're in Web3 and you use a Deadfellaz profile picture, it's kind of an extension of the community in some ways. Like, you know, I stand for inclusivity and diversity. I want to disrupt systems. I want to challenge the status quo. I want to have fun and be nerdy and play games with my friends and, you know, figure out this whole new world and how I fit into it as a creative. I think all of those things are kind of encompassed in just using a profile picture. But then also when you're a part of the community, you have access to just thousands of really awesome, amazing human beings, to be quite honest. Real life events, IP extensions that you can use to create with various gaming experiences. There's so much to do. And then the things that we have done over the years, I mean, we've done so much stuff. We had one of the first metaverse concerts, 2021. We had a Steve Aoki gig in Decentraland. We coded a full city and an underground club, and we had, you know, wearable vending machines and POAPs and all this stuff. We were hacking into Decentraland code, don't tell anyone, to create things that were not available, and using them as an opportunity to amplify artists as well. We had emerging musicians come in and perform and all kinds of fun stuff. That was 2021. We've since had live events, Halloween in LA. We had NFT NYC in June over Pride. That was amazing. We've worked with the likes of Wrangler and Chicago Bulls and DraftKings, and it's been really fun.
Betty, one of the things we were talking about earlier is, of course, your awesome avatar that you're using and the idea of anonymity. You were anonymous in the space for a while, and then I think it was around VCon 2022, perhaps, that you decided to dox yourself. And I'm just curious about both of those choices. So why initially was it important to you to stay anonymous? And then why did you eventually dox yourself?
That's a big question. So I wanted to remain anonymous for a multitude of reasons. One of them being I wanted to be received for my work first. I didn't want what I look like to be a distraction or to be something that influenced anyone's interaction with the brand. When you're a woman on the internet, that's a big deal. It can be a quite crazy landscape to try and navigate. So I wanted to mitigate that as much as possible. Then there was also safety. Again, woman on the internet, living in just a rural town on the beach in Australia with no security or anything, is a thing. You know, I have 3 young children that did not choose for me to be well known in the crypto industry. So there was that. And then just also sort of as an experiment to play with this idea of anonymity, I thought it was a really cool expression of self-sovereignty. Like, you know, I own my identity, and it's up to me to determine when I give that to other people, when I choose to be in spaces and when I don't. And I think it's important for safety. You know, a lot of people in this space that navigate it with identities that might cause them to be in trouble or, you know, in danger for whatever reason, they have safety of anonymity. I think it's really cool. I chose to dox because I know that who I am and what I look like and what I represent is very important to be visible in an industry where it is the minority. I wanted to be out there and, vocal and visible and for people to see me, because people that are like me, I wanted them to see me doing what I do and feel encouraged to do the same thing. So it's come with a lot of pros and cons, but ultimately I'm really happy with the decision. And a lot of people have said that, that my visibility has helped them feel safe and welcome and like they can be here too.
That's awesome.
And we were talking earlier about, potential flippers and people coming into the market and the challenges and pressures on that side. But I'm curious, outside of that, what are other pressures just in fostering a community the size of Deadfellaz and just the journey as a whole that you've had to go through as a founder? Maybe some specific challenges that, you don't necessarily look back on fondly, but perhaps were growing experiences for you.
You can't please everyone. And when you have a community that is like 13,000 people or more, and you want to please everyone, it's just an impossible goal, and you're going to be disappointed and you're going to disappoint other people. That's the reality of it. You have to work with people's best interests in mind, and you have to move, with authenticity and everything. But the reality is some of the things that you do will cause you to be a villain in someone else's story, and they will also, you'll let people down. It just is how it is. And that's hard to stomach when you don't want that to happen. I don't think anyone wants, to be the bad guy or to be disappointing or to let anyone down. But the road to anywhere is never smooth. And I think that's been a big learning thing for me, is letting go of control. I'm a bit of a control freak, and I like to be able to be in control of everything at all times. Which, has served me well, but also leads to a lot of learning experiences in terms of delegating and that sort of thing. It's a blessing to have access to a community of so many people, and, they make my life richer in so many ways. I just love the fact that we have this network of like-minded, amazing, creative innovators, but at the same time, I can't know everyone individually. I wish I could, but I can't. I try my best. I think that's all that matters, really.
Totally. Another thing you've been a big advocate of is creator royalties.
Yes.
And so maybe just break down, why is that something, first off, that you're passionate about?
Okay, so creator royalties are, I think, what brought many people to this space in the first place. I think the idea of valuing digital art and artists in general for their work was a new thing, but something that had been waiting to happen. It was the way that we had reframed people's value, as something that they deserve to see the profits of their own work and the value that they put out into the world. They deserve to have a piece of that. I think that was just an amazing transformative thing to be introduced as a concept to the world, and to see that be denigrated and broken down is very disheartening, because it's meant that the way that I came up and the way that I've been able to access the things that I do has been closed off to a lot of people. I was able to build what I have with the team and the community without anyone's permission, because we had the support of Royalties, and Royalties have built and enabled every single top project in this space to do what they do. The royalties for all of those projects resulted in the massive valuations that they saw, that they raised VC capital on. And the future of the industry is because of the royalties that they were started from. And so, closing it off to me is just bananas. The whole thing is wild. I still can't get my head around it. To build infrastructure to benefit a couple of hundred people that are market makers is crazy to me. But you know, we all come from different areas, and I think that eventually you'll start to see some really cool things that benefit creators, and I'm looking forward to that.
Well, Ulf and I have talked about this a few times on the podcast, and that to us seems like just such a novel piece of like what this technology is, like the fact that creators can have royalties. And you're right, that brought in a lot of people into the space, and it seems kind of backwards to then go against that novel innovation. But can you get our audience up to speed? Because we haven't really dove into some of the specifics of what that's looked like in the ecosystem. And so, I mean, Blur is an NFT marketplace that, to my understanding, they don't honor creator royalties. Correct me if I'm wrong in that. And then OpenSea has been playing around with some different, trying to navigate it as well. But can you just kind of like, to get the facts out there, are you able to kind of share what the situation is with the different marketplaces?
Yeah, so previously a creator could set their own royalties. I mean, the industry standard was around 5 to 7% for the creator based on a sale, and the marketplace took their own percentage. The marketplace set their own percentage and has made millions and millions and millions of dollars from creators over time from that fee. But in turn, creators have earned a lot of money and been able to fund their own developments over the last couple of years. Various marketplaces have now introduced different systems where it's like opt-in, where you can choose not to pay royalties if you want. You can choose 0.05% royalties or 0.5%. I can't remember the exact number right now because it's literally nothing. So it's kind of, inconsequential for most people. And then other marketplaces reward certain behaviors when dealing with people's NFTs. So, listing for as low as possible, bidding for as low as possible, all of that sort of thing. So it's encouraging behavior that is adverse to the reason why many of these projects were designed. I think that there's no problem with that behavior when it's, within systems that people have designed for it. So if you've got a collection that you're like, yeah, this is flip and trade, do whatever you want with this. Like, this is literally just to play around with, go for it. But you may as well be trading colored squares in my opinion, I think that it removes the power of culture and community, and it kind of dethrones that as the main value. I think that when you look at these NFTs as purely means for financial gain, it just reduces them to nothing else, So it's been a challenging thing to navigate, and I know that a lot of creators and creatives are very frustrated. I know every single founder of most major projects right now do believe that creators should be able to access royalties, however that looks. So I don't know that this will last.
Is this purely because royalties are ultimately controlled by the marketplaces, and then like the marketplace provide the tool, and then the creators go use it, or the buyers and the sellers in the marketplace? Is it not contract specific to how these tokens work? Or like, is that something where the solution, at least if you're on the side of, creators should have royalties, is the solution that the technology for the tokens, like the token standard, needs to be changed, or there needs to be a new token standard? Or is it that marketplaces need to evolve, or we need a new option or something like that?
I think there needs to be work across the board. There is definitely an issue with creators finding themselves at the mercy of marketplaces, because a lot of the time royalties are not baked into smart contracts. So it is determined on, whether the marketplace will honor that or enforce that. We have seen a lot of collections leave major marketplaces. You see, collections like art blocks create their own ecosystem entirely, which is a big signal. We are creating our own marketplace for our own ecosystem of tokens, and we will be incentivizing people to utilize that. I think that you're going to start to see utility gated behind whether people are paying royalties or honoring that, or whether they're buying on different platforms, or, you know, there's going to be all kinds of different variations on the mechanics of interacting with this stuff. And it's going to be dependent on the collection and the intention of the collection. It's definitely not going to be an industry standard for a long time. I think we're still getting there. But I think that what's important is creators are sovereign over their own work and how it's received. You know, we talk about decentralization and people are like, yeah, well, I should have the choice to pay royalties or not. And that's really not it at all. The creator should have the choice whether they have royalties in their work or not. And then the person buying that has the choice whether to buy it or not based off of the creator's choices, right? It's going to be an interesting time for sure.
Yeah. And what is your take on that other side of that argument? Those who say it should be up to me if I want to pay the creator royalties. Like, what's your take on that stand?
I think that I appreciate that people want to save a buck here and there on their transactions, but when it comes to buying art or buying, you know, creative work, what are you buying it for? If you're buying it for financial gain and that's not the intended use of it, I really can't align with that. Flipping and trading, I am definitely not against. I see the value in it, and I know that it has made a lot of collections very wealthy, and it's, you know, funded a lot of the development that we've seen in this space. But it's just, there's a level of respect that we need to have for creatives, and I feel like that has been eroded slightly. And I think that realistically, it's actually a minority of people that wouldn't want to pay royalties and don't agree with this at all, because there's really only a small few that are making a lot of money right now. We're in a bear market, right? So there's like, marketplaces have had to react to the needs of the people that are throwing the liquidity around. And that's like, I don't know, like less than 500 wallets, realistically. We were looking at the data the other day with a friend that's developing some cool stuff. And so I'm just like, I don't even know. I'm busy doing my job. I know there's people developing amazing things, and I'm just focused on that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I just recently learned a bit about sort of what you're talking about, these market makers, the big wallets in the space, and how, you know, Blur comes out, and the reason it was able to get so much momentum, well, I mean, there's a number of reasons, but, you know, one of them being that the tools they provided really benefited the people with big money, the big players in the space, who can take advantage and essentially like abuse the buying and selling of NFTs, the flipping of NFTs, to just make more money and essentially take control of the market in many aspects. And it just goes so against like going back to creator royalties and the fact that NFTs, what made them so amazing in the beginning was like I always like looking at it as crypto, like before NFTs, talked about fungible tokens and like maybe more on the investment side and whatnot. You know, it is about empowerment of debanking yourself and self-sovereignty and these aspects that were, you know, ultimately empowering the individual. And when NFTs came out, it was the same thing, but now for art and for creators and everything that's kind of happened in recent history, to me, is like this narrative of taking, shifting away from really the good of this technology and moving it towards, you know, the rich and greedy people, and just empowering them more to just manipulate market and make more money. And it's kind of sad, to be honest. And I hope things do sort of, I do believe they will sort of shift back, and that it's maybe a bit of a pendulum here, and we've gone the wrong direction, you could say, a little bit, but that inevitably that's gonna sort of instill that need in people to now we got to pull things back and we got to go the right direction, and hopefully we'll either get new token standards or new marketplaces that people understand why they're important, and then maybe creators won't list on these other marketplaces, at least not the ones like you said, where flipping is still an important part of the ecosystem, but it doesn't need it, you shouldn't feel like as a creator you're sort of forced into this marketplace where that's all it's about, because that's what it's been catered to. So I don't know, that was just a bit of a rant maybe, but what are your thoughts on some of that?
Not in a way here, like, preach. And I think that when, this argument is always positioned as us against them, like you sit in one of these two camps. And I think that that is a reflection of the way that this industry is very US centric and reflects the US political system and, this two-party system. That's not how the rest of the world works in many cases. It's not as easy as I believe this, and so I'm in this camp, and you believe that, so you're in that camp. That's just not how it is. And it's not how it is in crypto either. I love flipping NFTs. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it at all by any means. I'm terrible. Please never, ever follow what I do. But I'm good at collecting art that I enjoy, and I'm good at selling art that I enjoy to other people, and I'm good at creating projects. And so there's various ways for people to participate. There's so many people in this space that, use the profits of what they've made as well. Artists are selling art and then using the profits to buy art from other artists. And many times the royalties that are baked into that project or those pieces are for a purpose or a utility. Like Ed Balloon, his Run-Ed collection, the royalties on that go directly to buying art from Black and Indigenous artists, and that has been cut off. And so now that doesn't happen. And it's the same for a lot of these projects. It was funding a lot of really positive stuff, and now it's not. And I don't think that will be the case forever. Shout out to people like Manifold that are working on tools to empower creators constantly, and Bueno, and there's a variety of other organizations. Just is what it is. It's for now. It's the bear market. We're good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you had mentioned there in your answer a couple things that you're really good at. Another thing I would add into that I've heard is your superpower is connecting people. And so the question is, why is collaboration important in the NFT space?
Collaboration is important in the NFT space because it empowers other people. It opens doors. I have been given so many opportunities through collaboration that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So I really love to do that for other people, but also in a way that's really fun. So like the Infected collection that we do every year on Halloween, I cannot believe that this year will be our third. That is so crazy to me. It's blown. But in that collection, we engage multiple artists of varying levels of success or notoriety, and from all different backgrounds, just from people that we really love, that, have something special to share in the world. And sometimes it's like the top selling artists in a space, and other times it's people that maybe they haven't sold even one piece, but they're just amazing at what they do. And that ability to bring people together like that is very special. And yeah, like I said, other people have done it for me, so I enjoy doing it for others.
We've talked a lot about the history of Deadfellaz and your journey, but what's the future for Deadfellaz? What's happening either on the horizon or even what you got planned for the far future that you're willing to share?
So much. Oh my goodness. We have, you see this avatar right now that I am using. This is the first iteration of it. Obviously, it's going to be worked on forevermore, which is really fun. But we're leaning into empowering people in our community to create content, to build what they want to build. You're talking about, networking, providing networks for people to discern a pathway for themselves in this space and to actively build together is a good thing, I think. So we're going to use our power to make sure that happens, building a lot of infrastructure for that to happen. We've got a lot of gaming stuff going on. Dead Friends is a secondary collection that was brought in for our gaming arc. So that's That's all happening in the background. And we've got some big media and entertainment plays as well, so that we can give people the opportunity to fall in love with this IP that I love so much, and I know that other people will.
That's very exciting. And to follow that up with more future, but maybe from a different angle, what do you see in the NFT space as a whole going forward? How do you think it's going to play out maybe over the next 1, 3, 5 years?
I think we're going to see a fracturing of the space. And I think that that's going to be positive. I think that there are different use cases for this industry that need to separate. And we've been focused so much on, it's all NFTs, it's all Web3. Like, yeah, but, media files are not all grouped together in the same space, are they? It doesn't make any sense. So you'll start to see things break off, utilities discern new industries underneath this. I think that AI is going to legitimize Web3 in a way that is undeniable. The way that deep fakes and AI is going to be seen, especially across, the election period, we're going to need to verify truth and verify sources on chain using blockchain technology. And all of that will be NFTs. So I see this whole thing eventually being embraced. What I'm doing right now is a very nerdy niche in there. And I think that that's the same for most PFPs. I'm under no impression that all the people in the world are going to want a Deadfellaz profile picture. I don't think so at all, but I think that they're going to fall in love with the IP and want part of it in some way. And there's always going to be a niche that want to wear the PFP. And that's exciting to me to see it all evolve.
Well said, Betty. Well, we're coming close to the end of the interview, and we end every episode of Show Me the Crypto with the same 3 questions that we ask every guest. So we're going to get to those in a second. But before that, kind of a different question. Both Ulf and I have partners who aren't so interested in the crypto space. In fact, my wife, she actually starts a timer when I start talking about crypto. I have 30 seconds to kind of wrap it up before we have to change the subject. So my question for you is, what is one good thing and what is one challenging thing about the fact that you and Psych are both immersed in the NFT space?
One good thing is that we know each other so well, and we're able to draw from our experiences together and, professionally and personally, and all the things we love to kind of join forces and take things on in a way that creates new opportunities and new pathways and, building things that didn't exist before. That's so exciting to be able to do with someone that you're married to. Then again, there is definitely a blurred line between married us and business partners us, which, we've always worked together. So it's always been a thing, but it is very, very amplified, I would say, working in Web3. So pros and cons, but I wouldn't change it.
Love it. Good answer. Well, like I said, we have 3 questions. It's a little segment we call You Had Me at Crypto. Ulf's going to ask you those questions.
Okay.
All right. You ready, Betty?
Yes.
Okay. The first question, who is your favorite person to follow in the crypto space?
Oh my goodness. Right now, David Horvath. David Horvath is literally putting content on the internet that he could charge a lot of money for. Anyone that wants to start a character brand or wants to work in media and entertainment, looking at IP, follow David Horvath, subscribe to his Substack, read every tweet, devour everything that he puts out. He's a wealth of knowledge. Sometimes he says things that you're like, hey, fuck you, man. I don't want to hear that. But actually it's, he speaks from truth and experience, and it's really valuable. So he is my favorite follow right now. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. All right. The second question, what will the price of Bitcoin be 10 years from now?
Oh, I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
10 years from now.
Oh, I don't know. Let's go what is it right now?
That's a good question. 26,000 or something US.
26,000. And when did you say how long?
10 years.
10 years. Let's go 100,000. Screw it. Let's dream.
All right.
Let's go.
All right. Like it.
That's actually a low guess compared to the vast majority of 109 previous episodes.
It's funny though, because
but
it really depends. You've mentioned it multiple times in this episode. We're in a bear market. When we're in a bull market, million was easily the most average answer. And now that we're in a bear market, that like it's
100K is like actually
that's actually high.
Yeah, that's actually high.
So,
that's a good point.
Well, it was 8 to 10K, wasn't it? Like this time 2 years ago, and now it's like, I don't know, ETH to
ETH to anything
to
higher
back where
than
it
it
was
is
at.
right now. Yeah. All right. Third question. What is the most underrated project in crypto?
Other than Deadfellaz.
Oh my God. I have so many projects that I love so much that are underrated. I do want to shout out Galverse. Galverse is an anime style project out of Japan. It's woman-led and the team are amazing. And they just have this like really special IP. And I can imagine watching a show of that when I'm a kid and just, being completely in love with it. I think it's so powerful and awesome. And I look forward, I know they're very popular in Japan. So I'm looking forward to people over here being like, hey, that's awesome. I think that will come with time. A lot of these projects that deserve that attention will get it eventually.
Fantastic answer. Well, Betty, this has been an awesome conversation. This was an interview Ulf and I were really stoked about. Thank you so much for taking the time to come join us on Show Me the Crypto and do so with your awesome avatar. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to Show Me the Crypto. Please make sure to subscribe as well as rate and review this podcast.